Okay, y'all, I'm back. Part two of my story. So it goes along with the other story, but it's about two completely different things. But they're kind of, you know. Anyways, part two. So as I said in the last video, I started my period yesterday, right? Ugh. And we're gonna rewind just a little bit, maybe about 2 weeks ago. I think I mentioned in my last video that I was spotting a little bit, so I bought some lighter day pads, because I really didn't need it. Normally, I use the extra heavy overnight, but because I was just spotting, I didn't think I needed to feel like I had a diaper on. Anyways, I used all but like 6 of those. So yesterday when I started my period, I was at home and my boyfriend was at work. So I had to use the pads that I had, which was okay because, in the beginning, the light days, they're a little lighter the first day or whatever. So, I used it overnight, and then when I got up the next morning, I had to get up at 2 in the morning to go to work. So I went ahead and took the ones that I had with me, and I changed my pad like twice at work. But after I got off of work, I didn't have any left. But I had an interview for a second job. So I went to the interview, and after I left the interview, my plan was to go to Walmart to get some more pads and to get some food for dinner and go home. So I had this whole thing planned out. So I get to Walmart, the parking lot is packed, like all the way to the whole parking lot was full. But my plan was to park near the grocery side, and I was going to walk in to the pharmacy side to get the pads, then walk to the grocery, and then when I get out of Walmart, I'll be near the car. So that was my plan. So I park near the grocery, I get out, I'm all the way in the back of the parking lot on the grocery side. So I walk across this whole big old parking lot to get to the pharmacy side. I get into Walmart, and as I'm walking towards the feminine aisle, I feel warmth. And I'm like, great. But then I really feel warmth. So I just knew what was happening. So I'm trying to look quickly for pads. And it's taken a little longer than I wanted to because I normally get the Always super heavy overnights. But I am trying to boycott Always. So I was trying to see what other brand can offer me the same security. The reason why I'm boycotting Always is I will definitely tell you in another video in another time. On another time. In another time? Anyways, I'll explain that later. I'd be glad to explain it later. So I'm looking, and as I'm looking for a different, option, I feel warmth running down my legs, and I'm wearing blue jeans. So at this point, I have to get the Always anyways, even though I didn't want to, but I didn't have time to sit there and compare, and I needed the security, and I needed it now. So at this point, I have to grasp onto my jeans to keep the warmth, for lack of a better word, to run any further down my leg. So I'm walking quickly yet slowly towards the register so that I can pay for it and go be on my way, right? So, mind you, Walmart is super full, and I'm in a panic, and I'm like, I need to pay for this now so I can get out of here. The lines are crazy long. I'm walking up and down a couple of aisles. Finally, I was like, forget it. So I go to the self-checkout, which the line was crazy long, right? So, there was a black lady second in line, and it was like a Mexican guy in front of her. So I go to the black lady, like thinking, as a woman and as a sister, maybe she can relate to me. So I go up to her, still holding on to my pant leg with my right hand. I use my left hand, and I go up to the lady and I say, I don't mean to be rude, but can I please cut in front of you? And she's like, what? I said, look, I don't mean to be rude, but I really need to get ahead of you. And she says, she looks at me like, this right here, first of all, should tell you, right? So this should tell you it's serious. So she looks at me and was like, it ain't up to me, it's up to all these other people that have been waiting in line. Okay. So I look and I just take a deep breath and I'm just like, excuse me, do y'all mind if I cut in front of you? While holding my pant leg still. Do y'all mind if I cut in front of you? So that, like, I really need to. Like, do y'all mind? I don't mean to be rude, but I really need to get ahead of you guys. And then, so, they're like shrugging their shoulders, like, whatever, And the lady was just like, go ahead. And I'm just like, well, you know what I wanted to say. So I stand there in front of her, and that Mexican guy was still in front of me. And Mexican or Hispanic, I don't know. And he turns at me, and he's like, go ahead. So I'm like, okay. At this point, I have a big, huge, red puddle in the back of my pants and my leg. And so I'm trying to rush and get my card out and pay for this in the self-checkout. And as I'm paying for it, I hear that lady, well, that heifer, and chuckling and laughing with a couple of other people, like, as if I wasn't embarrassed enough. Like, and you find this funny? There's nothing funny about it. True enough, I'm almost 40 years old, and I should be well prepared for things like that, but things happen, okay? Things happen, and as a woman, you should understand. And, like, their laughter, like, it was so embarrassing, I almost cried. Like, to keep myself from crying, I just had to look and smile and grab my things. So I grab my stuff, I grab a couple of extra bags so that I wouldn't mess up my car seats. So I'm trying to gracefully walk out of this crowded Walmart with a big stain down my butt and leg. And not only that, I'm still by the pharmacy side. So I have to walk clear across the parking lot, not only all the way to the back of the parking lot, but to the other side of the parking lot in the cold, in a crowded Walmart parking lot with plenty of people and cars driving by, gracefully walking to my truck. So I get there finally, which took everything in me not to cry. And I line my seats up with the Walmart bags that I got, and I sit and I breathe. That's all I could do. I take myself home. When I get home, I use the piece of clothing from my car to cover the backside of me as I go upstairs to my place. And I knock on the door because I didn't want to fiddle for the keys. And my boyfriend opens the door and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. So he keeps pressuring me, keep asking me what was wrong, whatever. And I'm like, I've just never been so embarrassed in my life. And he was like, well, what happened? So I turn around for a hot sec. I'm like, look. And I turn back around and he's looking the other way. And I'm like, did you see? And he's like, yeah. And, and I was like, okay. And he just looks at me with like utter disgust. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. And like I said, I was already embarrassed enough, and that just made me feel even worse, I guess. But this stuff happens to me. Well, not this particular thing, but insane things happen to me that should not happen to normal people on a regular basis. Oh well. Still smiling though. Welcome to Ava's world.